Hey guys, what's up? I hope you're having a good week. I am doing another night shoot. I don't remember the last time. I know I filmed at night one time. I might have even been wearing the same shirt. How crazy is that? That's a little embarrassing. But I'm filming at night and I have this table above this table. I have this light above my dining table. I usually don't turn it on because it casts like a crazy shadow, but I have it on today and it's set to orange, and I can't say that I hate the way that this is looking. So I'm sorry. I feel like I'm always talking about either the lighting, or the time of the day that I'm shooting, or how crazy scary my schedule looks, and I want to move away from that. So today we're doing the weekly forecast, so you'll get a sneak peek into next week or just the next 7 days whenever you find this video. I do these timeless, so whenever you see this pop up on your feed, in your play next, I don't know, anything like that, this works for whatever the next 7 days are going to bring. And it's going to be kind of a deep dive as always. I always use a Celtic Cross, so you get a very vivid understanding of the energies. And like, keep in mind that things sometimes seem quite intense in the cards, but they might not manifest as intensely, you know, when the time actually comes, because you have to keep in mind the scope, right? So we're just looking at a week. So really, I feel like I'm jinxing myself here, but how much intensity can actually occur in a week? And I feel like I'm going to be eating my words next week. You guys will have to let me know if I end up eating my words. I just realized that my windows are open, so that's awesome. I should have closed those. I'll finish this and then I'll close them. So it should be quieter during your actual reading. Some insanity happening out on the streets as always. So we have the unusual animal messages today for the oracle cards, and that's 2. You can use the oracle card to help guide you to your reading for the week in whatever way that the card speaks to you. Maybe you feel like the card is really resonating in terms of what you've been going through, or maybe the card is resonating in terms of what you might want next week to look like. You know, any of the above works, whatever might be calling out to you. So we've got our 4 oracle cards today, our 4 animals, and I'm going to put those down there. And I'm actually going to pull some letter charms. Maybe your initials will pop out. I don't know. I think I'm just going to do 2 letters per reading just to see what we get. These are kind of difficult to work with because they're really small, but I'm just going to pluck them out of the bag. I hope you guys have been having a good week. Let me know what's going on. Let me know what's going on, if you've been experiencing anything interesting, and let me know if you're doing anything festive. I think last week I told you guys about how I was doing, and I have some soot on my fingers from the candles. Whoopsies. I think last week I told you guys about how I was going to this like jack-o'-lantern thing and a haunted house, and both actually were really fun. It was nice to get, which way does a B go? I think it goes that way. So we have B. Both of those activities were actually really fun. I enjoyed spending time with my people, and I thought they were both really well done. If you guys have any other ideas about like stuff to do during the festive season, feel free to leave it in the comments. I think that doing activities like this kind of like keeps away the seasonal depression when things get really dark. Actually dark, like nighttime dark, not like just like dark night of the soul dark. But they get dark like that too. We have M. I'm hoping that the camera is focusing when I show you guys these letters. I'm not entirely sure. And then we have H. So, and then after I pull these letters, I'm gonna walk you through what the crystals are and what exactly the cards say, so you are armed and ready for your reading. Lastly, we have V. And if you don't see like a letter, if a letter that like, oh my gosh, words, let me show you this and then I'll say it. Oh, okay. So if you don't see a letter that's sticking out to you, or a letter that's meaningful for you, that's okay. It might just not be what you should use to go to your reading. So it really doesn't matter. You can use the crystal, and feel free to I usually tell you the crystal names. Feel free to Google it and Google the spiritual meaning. Sometimes I literally just like to type in like obsidian spiritual meaning and see if that resonates for me if I don't know it off the top of my head. Or you can just look very intently at it. Maybe the color's drawing you in, the shape, just the energy in general. Or you can use the oracle card. And for these, feel free to just use the image, like the animal. Or you can use the phrase that's on the bottom. So let me walk you through everything before I, just keep rambling. So over here for our first reading, we have obsidian and the letters Z and A. And for the oracle card, we have the vulture bee. Recognize similarities and cultivate empathy. Interesting. The oracle cards I find usually play out like thematically within the reading. Like there's some way that the readings connect to the oracle card. And sometimes I forget to point those out. So I would also appreciate it if you guys would point it out in the comments if I missed something. Next, we have lapis lazuli with B and F, and the oracle card for that is polar bear. Good manners are appreciated and remembered. I feel like there could be some tea in that about the good manners. Has somebody been misbehaving lately? I don't know. Or maybe someone has been very well behaved. And then we have the chevron amethyst, M and H, and the axolotl. I think that's how you say that. You are more resilient than you think. So maybe if you've been going through difficult times, maybe you need a reminder about your resiliency. Lastly, we have smoky quartz and V and O, and the pistol shrimp. Your voice has power. So if you've been, exercising your voice, trying to exercise your power, connecting to your voice and your personal power, that might be a good reading for you. Okay, so feel free to pause and meditate on the images, the cards, whatever, if you feel like nothing is calling out to you. We're using the Zodiac Tarot for the actual reading. I like this deck. It's pretty practical, and I also like how it can connect to the movements of the planets and such. So stay tuned for that. Once you feel like you have a reading set, feel free to go to it. I'll have it'll be set in chapters as always, or the timestamp is in the description, and I will see you there. Hey guys, welcome to reading number 1. I did close my windows as promised, so hopefully things are calm and quiet. So, weekly forecast. I think I kind of said this in the introduction. Keep in mind that when we look ahead, sometimes things might seem a little spooky, or you might see things that you maybe are surprised by or don't look necessarily the most positive. Don't let it scare you off. Don't worry. That's just knocked everything over. That just kind of comes with the territory, but like if something, I'm not going to leave you hanging, basically. I'm not going to leave you, with some information and not tell you what to do with it. So don't be afraid. And that just kind of comes with the territory of looking forward. Remember to take what resonates for you and leave the rest. So I might give a few interpretations of everything, and you just have to take the thing that sounds right for you, just because this is a collective reading, and certain messages are for certain people. Not everything is for everyone. You know what I mean? Okay, so we're going to start with your energy for next week. We have the Emperor. I really like this for you. The Emperor is definitely a powerful energy. It's an energy of like getting things done, taking the action that needs to be taken. Also, maintaining your personal boundaries, setting any personal limits. If you've been manifesting something, the Emperor can also sometimes, in this deck, can indicate that your manifestation might be coming to fruition as a result of your own actions. Like you are the one taking charge and actually making things happen here. So love that for you. Let's take a look at the challenge. Again, this does not have to be super mega scary challenge for the whole week. This can just be like kind of like a bump in the road, or like something that you might have to work through. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. So for you, the challenge for next week is actually the 10 of Pentacles, which is kind of interesting because the 10 of Pentacles is a really positive card. I would say I'm surprised that it would come up in a challenge position. This deck doesn't like the guidebook doesn't have reversals. So I typically would read this challenge position as a reversal, but since this deck doesn't do reversals. I just kind of have to read it as the upright and we have to figure out together where the challenge might be in that. So the 10 of Pentacles is all about wealth and abundance and like getting everything that you want, things flourishing, things are stable, things are secure. So I think this could probably relate to that Emperor card in the sense that like you are finally getting everything that you want, but at the same time, you kind of have to deal with getting everything that you want. You know, things might be going really well. You might be feeling secure and fulfilled. And then sometimes we're left with the, okay, now what? Or like, is this really happening? Is this really meant for me? You know, I could see either of those maybe being a challenge for you next week. So we're going to take a look at your conscious thoughts here. And this is something that you're kind of actively thinking about next week. It might be on your mind. It might not be something that's actually happening. So keep that in mind. It's more so just something that you're thinking about. And I do think that with all of this, so you're on your conscious thoughts, let me go there first. You have the 5 of Cups, thinking about loss, thinking about sadness, thinking about something that you no longer have and you're neglecting the things that you do have. So I could see that maybe as things are flourishing and going well and you're feeling secure and fulfilled, you might be thinking about, okay, what if I lose it all? What about in the past when this thing went really wrong? Or like, what's going to happen if I lose it all? Feeling insecure in that flourishing, in that abundance. And we don't want that. If things are really, truly going well for you and the thing that you've been wanting has manifested, I want you to enjoy that. I don't want you to be stuck in that, okay, what if I lose it all? That's not fun to be in. Not a fun place to be in. So let's take a look at your unconscious thoughts. This is like not something you're actively thinking about. It's more so in the back of your mind. It can sometimes be something that you might be trying to repress or suppress, but it's usually popping up in this position because it is something that you need to acknowledge, because something about this in your mind is affecting the situation and how things are playing out. So for you, we have the Strength card in this position. And in this deck, you know, this Strength is very much one of like a gentle strength and kindness and an awareness. So I think understanding that and acknowledging your own strength, your own bravery, your own personal power, which clearly you have a lot of because your energy for next week is in the Emperor, which is definitely a card of strong personal power. You need to like remember that and reconnect with that side of you, even when you are feeling insecure and like in this, you know, kind of like a loss mindset. You do still have this strength and this courage deep down inside of you. And be gentle with yourself as well as you work through these things. And remember to be brave and like be determined, because if you have the mindset of, you know, whatever happens, I'm going to do my best and I'm going to make sure that things go the best that they can. If you keep that mindset, you know, then that's going to lead to a lot of resiliency and you can get through anything that life throws at you. So let's take a look at something from the past that is impacting. So this could be a person, this could be an event, this could be like a theme from events in your past that might be impacting things. And looks like for you, it's the Empress, which is very interesting because that's like, you know, the feminine version kind of the Emperor. So perhaps in the past, there was a moment where you had an idea, you created something, and you really nourished it. You were looking for the beauty in life, looking for harmony, and nourishing, taking care of that, taking care of yourself, taking care of that idea is maybe what has brought you into this place of like, okay, I've nourished it, I let it grow, and now I'm ready to take action, and I'm ready to see the results and have it flourish. So that moment of like that nourishing, that taking care is really impacting the way that you are going to be experiencing things next week. Let's take a look at, let's check this Oracle card again. Recognize similarities and cultivate empathy. Let me know in the comments if you see a way that is playing out in this reading. I don't know if I'm seeing it just yet. So for the energy of earlier in the week, for next week, you have the Chariot. So lots of big energy at play here in this, in this direction, the past, present, future. You have all major arcana there, so there's some big energies playing out. But for earlier next week, motorcycle, you have, if you heard that, I did close my windows, I swear, we have the Chariot. So the Chariot is all about understanding the relationship between, I always tend to think of like passion and logic, emotion and logic, or like, fear and love, those two opposing forces that when they're united can really drive you forward. This card is definitely a card in this deck. It's a card of beginnings and a card of great movement. So you might see a lot of movement, a lot of change, a lot of things happening earlier in the week. And it might be things that you have started and things that you are directing, because the Chariot, who's the one in the driver's seat? You have these forces that are causing the momentum and the change to happen, but ultimately you are the person in the driver's seat. And I think that's kind of reinforced by this Emperor card here. So it could be things playing out that you maybe have started and you are taking action and you are causing this movement and this change. And it's important, as this is happening, that you make sure that you're aligning your emotional, spiritual side with that more logical, rational side to make sure that you have full control over yourself and that you're pointing things in the right direction. Let me move things over so we have some more room. We're going to take a look at your internal influences. So this is how exactly you are impacting the events of next week, what effect you are having. So Two of Wands, very interesting. Okay, so Two of Wands is also a card, not also, I don't think really a decision. Yeah, I don't think any of these cards have really spoken to a decision yet, but the Two of Wands definitely speaks to a decision, and it's in particular a decision about how are you going to direct your action? So this action that you're taking with this Chariot for earlier in the week, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to direct your action? Remember how I talked about balancing the forces and making sure that the horses are aligned and moving in the same place? This card speaks to that as well. How are you going to direct your action? Is it going to be, do you want to make change within yourself, within your small world, or do you want to instead affect the outside world, affect your community, affect, the bigger picture, right? Where do you choose to act? That's up to you. You're going to need to focus your energy on something in particular. Make sure you have an overall vision, a bigger picture, because the choice that you make is going to affect how things play out for you next week. Make sure that action that you take is effective. You do have a lot of control in this situation, as evidenced by the Emperor, the Chariot, and this Two of Wands. So make sure you are doing the best that you can here. And remember, with that Strength card, we're going to take a look at the external influences next. So these are things that are outside of your control and how they are impacting your experience next week. This could be other people, like a situation that you find yourself in, the energy of your environment, anything like that. Let's take a look. Okay, so external influences, you have the Seven of Pentacles. So the Seven of Pentacles is like, it's interesting when you compare it to all of these cards of like, you're in control, you're doing a lot of changes, you have a choice to make, right? The Seven of Pentacles instead is a card about waiting, gestation, and pause. And it's that same idea that's in this Empress here, that idea of nourishing. Wait for something, put your energy into it, love it, help it grow, wait for the right moment. So you might be doing a lot of things next week, but everything around you might seem to take more of that pause because it might not be the right moment. So feel free to start things, but you might not see the results of it just yet. You're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to wait, and things around you might force you to do that. So keep that in mind. You might be forced to be a little patient. Things might be a little slower moving in your environment, but it's for the best. It's for the best. With the Seven of Pentacles, it's definitely for the best. Let's take a look at a hope or fear. I usually interpret this card, whether it's a hope or a fear based on the actual card that comes out. So for you with the Two of Cups, I do think that that is more of a hope. So the Two of Cups to me is about having a significant relationship, a meeting of two people, this loving emotional exchange. Next week you might be hoping for some development in your romantic life or love life, and support, particularly from the people that are closest around you, especially if it's about whatever this situation is. You might just be hoping for the support of people around you and for that love and coming from your relationships. You might want to become closer with the people around you, learn more about the people around you, and this could also be about the relationship, not just with a person, but it could also be about with a project, a place, or experience. So if this is speaking to some kind of a project, because this could really be about anything, keep that in mind. Whatever, I'm hoping that as soon as I started talking, a particular situation came into your mind, or maybe you were thinking about a particular situation when you started this reading. Whatever it is that this is speaking about, you might just want, whether it's a person or a project, you might want to get closer with that project, understand that project a little deeper, right? Feel very connected and close. So it can be about anything. It doesn't have to just be about a romantic situation. Anyways, I hope that makes sense. Otherwise, let's pull our last card, which is it's technically the outcome position, but I kind of take it to mean it could be the outcome. It could be later in the week. It could be the biggest overall energy for the week, anything like that. And it's another major arcana card. So clearly some bigger energies are playing out. You actually got the Death card. Don't be afraid. We are in Scorpio season now, which is appropriate because death is related to Scorpio. I think this is just letting you know that you are in the process of a transformation. There is a lot of change happening here. And to me, the Death card is about change within the self and change that is coming from within. So this is just reaffirming that a transformation is occurring, and it's important to cut out the things that aren't serving you. So if you have bad patterns, bad relationships, bad practices, it's time to cut those things out if they aren't serving you anymore in order to allow all of this work that you're doing here to truly flourish. A change is happening, right? You want to put your energy into the thing that is growing and in bloom rather than the thing that's kind of withering and dying, right? You have to get rid of old stuff to make room for new stuff. Okay. Whew. I wish you the best for next week. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you felt this reading was about for you. I'm so curious about your guys' life. I love to hear from you. And if you have a clarifying question, you can put it in the comments too, because I can just do a single card pull and reply with the answer. I wish you the best. Love, light, happiness, peace, prosperity, abundance, all of those wonderful things. Feel free to like and subscribe. That stuff really helps me out. And thank you for spending some time with me today. I hope I'll see you again in a future video. Hey guys, welcome to reading number 2. I closed my windows as promised in the introduction. Hopefully nothing super loud and obnoxious happens. Reading number 2. I've already lost my train of thought. This is crazy. This is what happens when I film at night, I guess. Reading number 2, we have Lapis Lazuli, B and F, and Polar Bear. Good manners are appreciated and remembered. Let me know the tea. If somebody has been rude lately, let me know in the comments. I love when things are messy. I love when other people's things are messy, I guess. I am happy to participate in that mess, but it's annoying when my own stuff is messy. So you know what? I take that all back. I feel bad. I'm sorry if things are messy for you right now. Okay, we're going to get a deep dive into your week. Listen, if anything scary pops up, that's kind of part of the territory. But keep in mind, I'm not going to leave you hanging. And usually, you got to keep the scope in mind, like I said in the introduction. Like, it's just a week, you know? It's just a week. Nothing like, I don't know. It's just a week. I'm going to leave it there. Okay, we're going to take a look at your energy first. If I ever actually can start shuffling properly. Here we go. Ooh. That's 2 cards. Not taking that. I just want one. I just want one. That's just one. Okay. Your energy. Interesting. 7 of Wands. Okay, maybe somebody has been being rude. 7 of Wands, you can see in that image, it definitely gives me like on the defense type of vibes. So let me know if that resonates for you. But in other words, like in a more specific way, the 7 of Wands, it tends to definitely be about action, definitely some more defensive action, right? That courage, that braveness, you can see that like Leo is in there, and like just being ready to face everything that happens, right? So you're on that defense, you're ready for things, but it's not like with a fear, it's with a courage. So you're going to be feeling brave next week, ready to take on whatever comes and figure things out, whatever the cost. And you know what? Let's take a look at what the challenge is going to be. What are we preparing for? What are we defending ourselves against? Let's take a look. I tend to interpret the challenge card as a reversal, by the way. But this deck doesn't do reversals. So we're going to have to look at the card. Sorry, one fell on the floor. We're going to have to look at the card in its like upright form and kind of go from there and figure things out. So, okay. I think I like spoke it into existence. There might be a conflict with a person next week. So Knight of Cups, masculine energy, fire sign, water sign. There could be a conflict with that person. It doesn't have to be a big conflict. Sometimes it can just be like a little disagreement. Remember, we're keeping the scope in mind. So it's literally just a week. So don't be too afraid. Like, I think maybe some problems could arise because with the elements of fire and water, this creates a kind of instability. So like this person might be very like artsy, passionate, inspired, but they're also kind of like a little unstable, and they could be kind of hot and cold. So like the things that they're very passionate about could very quickly extinguish. And so that kind of like, you might be on the defense. Like you might know them and understand this about them. So you're like, oh my God, I got to be prepared because this could switch at any moment. And you know, the passion that was there might not exist anymore. Let's take a look at your conscious thoughts. So this is not something that's necessarily happening out in the material world. It definitely could be, but this is not something that's necessarily happening physically. It's just what you're thinking about, and definitely thinking about on the forefront of your mind. So keep that in mind. It's like, I don't know. I'm just going to talk myself in circles. So let's leave it at that. So you are thinking about death. So don't be afraid of that. That's not like actual, like, I guess it could be actual death, but I never interpret that as like you're thinking. I wouldn't interpret that as like you're thinking about death. I think it's more so you're thinking about transformation. You're thinking about change. So perhaps you're reconsidering if there is a conflict with this person or a situation with this person. Maybe you're thinking like, gosh, what needs to change here? What kind of change needs to happen? What's not really serving me, serving us, serving this relationship anymore? What do we need to get rid of? What do I need to get rid of? And what should I be putting my energy into instead? Thinking about that change and what change needs to happen. I tend to think of the Death card as representing a change of the self, a change that's coming from within, and it's not so much a change that's like being forced upon you or coming from outside sources. So next we have the unconscious mind. This is something that is on the back of your mind. You're not actively thinking about it. You might not even realize that it's kind of operating in the background there, But it tends to pop up here because it is something that you should acknowledge and think about and work on and bring it into the forefront. So, because it is affecting things and you just might not realize it, like affecting your perception, affecting your thoughts, affecting the way that you're experiencing things again. These two cards might not be manifesting physically. It's just stuff that's kind of happening in your mind. And I think that this Knight of Pentacles is an interesting contrast with this Knight of Cups here. So the Knight of Pentacles, instead of being water and fire, is earth and fire. So the Knight of Pentacles, this could be you thinking about yourself and the way that you are. This could be thinking about how you might want this person to act or expectations that you have of this person, especially since these cards are so similar to each other. You might be thinking about, oh gosh, I really wish this person was this way. I want them to be this way, but they're really this way. And that's why this conflict is presenting. So I'm going to describe this for you, and you're going to have to figure out whether it's your expectations of this person or if it's parts of yourself that are affecting things. So the Knight of Pentacles is attentive. They like to give their attention to people. They pay attention to things. They're a little more detail oriented. They are very deliberate. When they take on a project, take on a relationship, they're very deliberate in their action, and they like to move forward, but at an appropriate pace and take things slowly, right? They're very committed, hardworking. They're very focused on their goal. Lots of willpower, lots of constancy or consistency, and they're very dedicated. So who is that person? Is that your expectations of this person, or is this more so parts of yourself that aren't meshing with this person and maybe causing that conflict? Let's take a look at something from your past that's impacting. This could be a person, a situation, a theme from multiple events in your past. So you're going to have to kind of figure that out. I'll present as much information as I can, and I think you will have to determine how exactly it's manifesting. So in the past, we have the Magician. The Magician is all about manifesting, creating a situation, being the one in charge of what's going on, being smart about it, and using the resources that they have. So the Magician is also, you could see Mercury. I can't even, Mercury is represented there, which is about communication and intelligence and using reason, right? So being able to use skills. I think perhaps in relation to this situation, maybe you manifested this. Maybe there was a lot of communication involved. Maybe you took charge and you made this relationship kind of happen. And that ability to use your communication skills, use your intelligence, think logically, think about what you want and to make it happen. Remember that you still have those skills and that power in this current situation, because maybe whatever you were doing back then related to those skills is maybe what led you here. So remember that you have all the tools you need, you have the skills you need, you are able to create your own reality and create what you want. So let's take a look at the near future. I tend to interpret this as like earlier in the week, and we have another pretty big major arcana card here. So you have Judgment is the energy for earlier in the week. I think you might be reaching a point where you're reflecting and passing judgment on perhaps this situation, this person, this relationship, right? Judgment is the last card where before the World, where you're really like looking at everything and figuring out, okay, have I done what I was supposed to do? Am I happy with the way that things have played out? Where do I want to go from here, right? Finding your mission in the world, finding your voice, right? Being able to use your voice and speak about what you want. And Judgment is also a card of transformation, very similar to this Death card, right? Because the first step that you have to do in order to change is to figure out what needs to change, what needs to be gotten rid of, and what should we embrace and accept. So that's kind of the energy of earlier in the week. And Judgment is ruled by Pluto, which is all about change and transformation. I'm going to move these over here. Pluto and Scorpio are also very connected, which is why, these cards are pretty similar. Anyways. what are we looking at next? Your internal influences. So what you're doing, this card is flipped. I'm going to take this. So what you're doing and how it's impacting, you know, the situation next week, how you're internally influencing things. The Ten of Pentacles, I think, is pretty interesting to see here, because the Ten of Pentacles is about abundance, generosity, feeling fulfillment, feeling security, like getting everything you want and feeling secure and at peace because you've gotten everything you want. So the Ten of Pentacles also really like looks at, like encourages you to look at the wealth that you do have. So even if in some ways you don't feel wealthy, looking at the things that you do have in the areas of life that you are blessed in. So I do think based on this, you might have that mindset of like, but look at all the good, look at all the blessings, look at all the, you know, the wonderful things that I have, or this person has, or this relationship has. And that's actually impacting things, having that kind of a mindset. Can't really tell how. I can't really tell how, but the Ten of Pentacles is more of a positive card. So I wouldn't say necessarily that it's impacting things negatively. I think it would most likely be positively affecting things. Maybe it's keeping you in a positive mindset, right? That gratitude, that well-being, that satisfaction, right? Staying in that mindset actually does attract new blessings. So perhaps because you've been working on being in this mindset of gratitude, and you might be attracting blessings into your life with that. With that, perhaps that's how this whole thing came to be. Externally, the Devil. Don't be afraid of that. That's also one of the cards that like people can kind of be scared off by. Don't be afraid of that. When I say external influences, this could be another person, a situation, the energy of your environment. It's things that you can't really control that are happening around you and how they're impacting things. So when I see the Devil card in a situation like this, you might find yourself in a situation where you're tempted to fall back into patterns that aren't serving you, or self-sabotaging behavior, or being very dependent on another person. You might find yourself in a situation where you're being tested in that way. And it's important to keep in mind that you are the one in charge of your life. And you have this Magician card in your past position to really reflect that. You're the one in control. You're the one in charge. Break free of the chains and do not fall back into self-sabotage. We do not want that. The Devil card, more than anything, is just a warning that like you don't want to do things that aren't serving you, because they'll just hold you back and prevent you from growing. Keep that in mind. Next, we're going to look at a hope or a fear. I tend to interpret that, you know, based on whether it's a hope or a fear, I mean, based on the actual card that comes out. So let's see what we got. We'll go from there. As I'm shuffling, just a reminder, keep the scope in mind, keep the scope in mind. So things might not manifest as intensely as they seem in the cards. Okay. Hope or fear, you have the Seven of Cups. I think this could maybe be both, because the Seven of Cups is all about having choice, is about having option. And I could see that being a hope, because you might want to have choices and options and potential ways to move forward. But it could also be a fear, because it can represent being overwhelmed by choice and that leading to like paralyze you. You know what I mean? Or it could be that like you think that you have choices, but it's all an illusion. So that could be a fear as well, that like, okay, do I really have all these options available to me? I'm not sure. Or it could be a hope of like, gosh, I wish I had more options available to me. It really could be either. Up to you. As with all of these, it's up to you to see. Take what resonates and forget the other stuff. The next card is technically the outcome position, but it can mean the outcome for sure, but it could also mean like the energy of later in the week, the largest energy. It's traditionally the outcome card when you're doing a Celtic Cross for like a specific problem that you're looking to solve, or a specific situation in life. So it could be that, but if you're doing a more general thing, could just be about, you know, the biggest energy. as I try to fix these cards and I just mess them up more. So for you, you have the Strength card. It's important as you go through next week to remember that there is great strength in being gentle and being kind. So if you are in a conflict with this person or contemplating making changes or beating yourself up about, things that you've done or things that have happened, remember that there is strength in being kind. Be gentle on yourself. You have the strength to get through these situations. Remember that as well. You are resilient. You can get through anything and it'll all be okay. Like, especially if you could see the lion and the lady in the card have each other. They're leaning on each other. You can lean on other people in your life for that strength. The strength doesn't just have to come from you. And honestly, there is great courage have courage, but also have the courage to follow your heart and act honestly. I think especially in this situation, follow your heart, act honestly, and have the courage to do that. Okay. I wish you the best with this. Love, light, peace, happiness, stability, prosperity, abundance. If you have a clarifying question, feel free to leave it in the comments because I can just do a single card pull and I'll leave you a reply in the comments with the answer. So if you have a clarifying question, do not be afraid to ask and I will get back to you. Thank you for spending some time with me today. Remember the scope. Don't be too intimidated by what's going on in the cards. And I will see you next time. I hope you join me in another video. I enjoyed my time here with you. I hope you did as well. Hey guys, welcome to reading number 3. We have the chevron amethyst, M and H, and then the axolotl. I can't read that. I'm so tired. My eyes are burning. You are more resilient than you think. Okay, let's see how this manifests. I hope that you're not going through a difficult time. But if you are, I'm here with you and we will figure it out together. We're going to start with your energy. And as I start pulling cards, please keep in mind, remember the scope. Things might come off as very intense in the cards, but they don't always manifest that way. And it's just a week, right? So keep that in mind. And take what resonates and leave the rest, because I offer lots of interpretations of the cards just because there's multiple people here. So some things are meant for some people and some things are meant for others. So remember that. And for your energy, we have the 9 of Cups, which is a very chill, I perceive it as a pleasant energy to be in, because the 9 of Cups is just about waiting happily. You have good things coming to you and you know that and you're confident in that, and you are just chilling and waiting for them to arrive. And that's probably the best place to be in. Whatever that means to you, whatever you're waiting for, you're just waiting for it. You know it's coming. Let's take a look at the challenge. I tend to interpret this as a reversal, but this deck actually doesn't do reversals. So we're going to have to take the card upright and figure out how that might be a challenge. So we'll see. We'll see what we get. We'll work with it. Knocking everything out of the way. Okay, so the challenge is a court card, which to me usually indicates a conflict with another person. In your case, you got the Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords, think feminine. Doesn't have to be a woman, but think more of a feminine energy. And for the Queen of Swords, we could be an air sign. Or a water sign, I believe. Yeah, those are the two images there. So it could be an air sign or a water sign. So this person is able to, they're empathetic. They definitely, they listen. They're compassionate. Maybe there's some kind of a butterfly associated with them. And they're the type that can transform emotions. So someone might come to them with a problem, they help you kind of rationalize it and think it through, and then the person leaves feeling differently and having a different perception of the situation. But they also can be kind of sharp and direct, but it's definitely like a sincere place. But that, you know, that sharpness and that directness, that could maybe be how we end up perhaps in this conflict situation. So let's take a look. Understand a little bit deeper about what's happening here. I could see how this might relate to this axolotl card about being resilient, especially if you have maybe, you know, been in conflicts with this person in the past. Let's take a look at that fell on the floor. We're going to take a look at your conscious thoughts. This is something that you're actively thinking about. It might not be something that's playing out like in the physical world. It's just more so something that is on your mind. And when it's conscious, it's definitely on the front of your mind. So you have the sun. I don't think that you're going to be like really bogged down by whatever is happening with this person, because the sun is a pretty positive card. So you're going to feel like, and perhaps that's why you're just waiting patiently and like you feel okay about things, because you feel like you're going to feel like you have been honest. You're going to feel like you've been your true self, and you're going to feel like maybe you've illuminated the truth perhaps on a situation, or like you're bringing about, the sun is also brings about growth and transformation. So you're going to be in a good place about whatever is happening. And that might just be because you felt like you were coming from an authentic place. You felt like you were trying to help grow the other person or grow the relationship. Let's take a look at the unconscious thoughts. You know, this is typically something that is on the back of your mind. It could sometimes be something that you're repressing or suppressing, but it's important to acknowledge because it's impacting your thinking in some way. And that if it's impacting your thinking, it could be impacting your feelings or your behavior, all of those things. So usually a card that pops up here is one that you might want to acknowledge and bring out from the more unconscious parts. And you have the Ace of Swords. So the Ace of Swords is definitely about truth. It's about like this lucid thought and lucid idea, this illumination, right? So suddenly you have a clear view of something. You're like, oh my God, I actually see things for what they are. And I think that might be why you feel so positive, is because you might have realized the truth about something and communicated it. The Ace of Swords is also about communication. Ace of Swords is also about cutting away the unnecessary and having this like new vision and being able to use your rational side and not really getting bogged down by emotions. So I think it's like when this is in the unconscious, right? You've had this realization about something, but it's like, okay, well, now what? Like, what do you want things to actually look like? You know, where do you want to go from here, right? Are you going to, like, clearly you know, maybe you've communicated with this person, but you're going to want to make sure that, like, you are staying rational and clear-minded. You do not want the rationality and the lucidity to be kind of, like, bogged down by whatever emotions that you're feeling about this situation. Stay lucid, stay rational. Let's take a look at your past. This could be a situation, a person, a theme from events in your past. Let's take a look here. Oh my, that's a huge pile, so I'm taking that. I'm going to leave that because that's by itself. So I always like try to fix the cards to make them look straight, and I always end up making it worse. Perhaps I should just accept things for the way that they are. Maybe there's a lesson for you in that random phrase that I felt like saying. In the past, you have the three of wands. So I think in the past, you might have had this moment where you had this moment of like, okay, I'm going to go after what I want. I'm going to go out into the unknown and see what's waiting there. Perhaps it was even in this relationship with this person. Perhaps that's why this kind of situation is happening, because you're like, you know what, I'm just going to do this and see what happens. I don't really know what's going to play out. But this card is also like, this journey, this movement will bring you fulfillment. So there might have been a moment where you've been in a situation similar to this, where you took a chance, you went into the unknown, and it went well for you and things played out. So keep that in mind. keep that in mind. Let's take a look at the near future. So this I tend to interpret as like the energy of earlier on in the week. See what we get here. Almost, not quite. Not quite. Okay. Knight of Pentacles. Okay. This could be another person happening in this situation. This could also just be parts of yourself. So Knight of Pentacles is earth and fire. So whatever sign that you are, I'm just going to describe this person. And I think it's going to be up to you to really figure out if this is a third party or if this is parts of yourself. So the Knight of Pentacles, very determined, very detail-oriented, dedicated, has a lot of perseverance, has a lot of willpower. They have a goal. They're willing to take like the slow, steady route in order to get there. So I think if you do have a goal in mind for this relationship or this situation with this person, if this is you, then that's about having the willpower to actually do the work that needs to be done, take the steps forward no matter how small that they are. Okay, let's take a look at the internal influences. This is like what you're doing and how you are impacting the situation. Ooh. Four of Pentacles. Okay. You are trying to protect yourself and you want to protect your resources. So that could be actual resources like money, but it could also be time. It could be energy. It could be emotions. You are putting up like strong boundaries here, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like in this deck, the Four of Pentacles is not necessarily like, oh, you're too afraid, you're hoarding, you're, not letting people in. In this deck, it's kind of healthy because it's like, okay, you're putting up the boundaries that you need to actually have in order to protect yourself, and it's okay to protect yourself and protect your resources. So the fact that you're doing that is impacting things here. Let's take a look at external. So this could be other people, the environment, a situation that you find yourself in. These are things that are definitely outside of your control though. The Hanged Man. Okay. So in the environment, like the Hanged Man is an energy of waiting and of perceiving and analyzing. So especially it could be about this other person that's involved here in this with that challenge position being the Queen of Swords. Other people might not really be doing much, and it might seem like there's kind of a lull in the action next week in terms of things happening outside of yourself. And that is just to provide you with a moment to reflect and analyze and pause and digest, truly. And I think that if there is, with this other party involved, this could be a moment for them as well. So like the Hanged Man can also be about having this moment of like, what am I going to let go? What am I going to sacrifice? So like you might find yourself in a situation where you're actually analyzing things and then you're like, all right, what am I going to let go of? What am I going to abandon here? Let's take a look at a hope or a fear. I tend to determine if it's a hope or a fear depending on like what the actual card is. And I think with the Devil, don't be afraid of that because it's just a hope or a fear of yours. It's definitely a fear. The Devil, when it's in like a fear position, is about, being codependent. I don't know if you want to be very like reliant on this person. You don't want to depend on them. I think you also maybe are afraid that you're like sabotaging the situation or sabotaging yourself or ending up like doing these old patterns of behavior that you might have done in the past that aren't serving you, and like you're ending up tied to this you're afraid that you're going to end up tied to this bad situation because of maybe poor choices or like past, self-sabotage or like things like that. This is just a fear though. So don't think that this is going to manifest like into physical reality. This is just a fear of yours, and understanding these fears is helpful in understanding how you're experiencing and perceiving the world, because honestly, perception is sometimes reality. Okay, the last card that is already on the table there is technically the outcome card. So you can take it to like be the outcome of this situation. You definitely could. But it could also just mean the energy of later in the week, or the energy, the biggest energy of the week. And you have the Page of Wands here, which is a court card. So this could describe yourself, an energy that you kind of step into, or this could maybe describe another person, but I do think that this might be an energy that you are stepping into, is the vibe I'm getting from this. So the Page of Wands is definitely like fresh, new, inspired, and curious, like you're ready to embark on a new adventure. It's very similar to this energy that you've actually embodied in the past with this Three of Wands. So you might just be stepping back into that same energy, where you realize that like it's okay to say yes to the unknown. It's okay to go after things with enthusiasm. It's okay to not be afraid, right? You can transform things with your, with your abilities, your mindset, and maybe you're going to start a new project or a new journey, something unexpected you might start working on or going towards, and you should embrace it without fear. Follow the things that inspire you. Follow the things that make you happy. Follow the things that like give some purpose to your life, whether it's this relationship or whether it's other things, Okay, I hope that this reading resonated for you. If you have a clarifying question, feel free to pop it into the comments, because I can just do a single card pull and reply to you with an answer. So don't be afraid if you've got like a question, like what did you mean by that? Or sometimes as like more cards come out, I can like circle back and like make things sound kind of confusing. So feel free to ask a clarifying question. Otherwise, I wish you the best. Peace, love, happiness, light, security, prosperity, all of those things. And thank you for spending some time with me today. I hope I will see you again in a future video. Hey guys, welcome to reading number 4. Let's get into it. Remember to keep in mind about the scope. So remember, it's just a week. Things might come off as pretty intense in the cards. They might not manifest as intensely. And remember to take what resonates. I might give a few interpretations because it's a collective reading. There's a lot of people here. So keep that in mind as well. Take what resonates and leave the rest. So we have the Smoky Quartz, the V and O, and the Pistol Shrimp. Your voice has power. So let's see your energy for the week. Let's start with that. See what we got for next week. Okay. 2 of Swords. Interesting. So you might be faced with some kind of so I don't think next week for you is not going to be about taking action. You're going to be kind of like locked in thought about something next week. And 2 of Swords energy is definitely like, I don't really know what to do or how to move forward. And it's about going on this inner search, trying to ponder and think before you take action. So if something's been going on in your life that might require some action, next week is not the week where you're going to be doing that. Next week is going to be the week where you're planning and figuring out what to do, going on that inner search to figure out how you want to move forward and what exactly it is. Let's take a look at the challenge. This might give us a little bit more information about what this decision is about or what you're dealing with. Okay. The Hanged Man, this deck doesn't have reversals, so for the challenge position, I kind of have to interpret it as the upright card. Very interesting, because the Hanged Man is also an energy of pause. So the 2 of Swords is an energy of pause, and so is the Hanged Man. So you might actually have a hard time pausing and contemplating and thinking about the situation. It might be hard for you to do that. You might want to take immediate action on it. You might want to just go for it, but you're being forced to stop and not take action. And that might be difficult for you, but I encourage you to actually do it. Take the time to reflect and go on that inner search and think, because the Hanged Man also suggests that there's something that you need to let go of. You're going to have to sacrifice something in order for things to get better, and it might be difficult for you to do that. So it's important that you have all your ducks in a row before you go about that kind of a thing. let's take a look at your conscious thoughts. This is something that might not be happening in the physical world, but it's definitely something that you're thinking about. And you're going to be thinking about how to stay strong, how to be resilient. Like, strength in this deck is definitely a gentle strength. So understanding, like, you're going to be thinking about that constantly. How can I stay strong? What can I do to support myself? What can I do to support the people around me? And you might even be thinking like, okay, I should be a little bit nicer to myself right now, especially if you're going through a hard time. Let's see. I'm not quite seeing how this pistol shrimp, your voice has power, is resonating here yet. I could see maybe this situation when you do finally use your voice, maybe, you're going to have a lot of power for it. So let's talk about your unconscious mind. Again, this is not something that's necessarily manifesting in the physical, but it's something that you're thinking about in the back of your mind. You might not even be aware of it. It might be something that you're actively repressing or suppressing, and you have the Seven of Wands. So the Seven of Wands is about your courage, very similar to this strength card here, but this is like being on the defense. So I think for here with the Seven of Wands, like when this is something in the unconscious, it tends to be something that you're going to want to bring into your more conscious energy. Otherwise, what's the point of it coming up here? So the Seven of Wands, I think for you, is asking you to think a little bit more actively about what your personal values are. What are you defending? What are you protecting? What are your personal values? What's your nature? What do you want to follow? It's like having courage, but it's having courage to protect yourself, protect your values, things like that. So I think you're going to want to keep that in mind. What are your values? What do you want? What do you want to protect? Bring that into a little bit more into the conscious. Okay, had to pause there to plug my phone in. My phone was running out of battery. And let's take a look now at your past. So this could be a person, a situation, a theme from events in your past that are impacting, what's happening in the present. So let's see what we get here. Okay. Seven of Swords. Okay, so I'm just going to describe the card, and I think it's going to be up to you to kind of figure out whether this is a specific situation or a little bit more thematic. I don't think that this is a person, but there might have been a situation in your past where you felt like you were kind of acting in secret, or like you had to deceive the people around you. And maybe even not to that extreme, but it could also just be like, all right, things are a little tricky here. I'm going to have to really be cunning, use my intellect, use my communication skills in order to kind of get out of this tricky situation. That kind of thinking outside of the box. So there's been a situation in the past where you've been able to solve a problem by thinking outside of the box, relying on your cunning and your intellect. Maybe you've had to kind of like move in silence. And I think you should reflect on that situation and think about that, because that might help you here. Okay, let's talk about the energy of earlier on in the week. So kind of what you can expect early next week. Death. Okay, don't be afraid of that. This is more so speaking to like feeling that transformative energy taking place earlier in the week. So again, this is not like, this whole situation is definitely one of pause. You're not going to be taking a lot of action, but earlier in the week, you might start to feel this transformation taking place of like, okay, death to me is also about this like inner transformation, this transformation that's resulting from something within. And you are going to be kind of thinking about, what do I need to let go of? What's changing in my life? Where do I want things to go? And so you're going to start to feel the effects of this transformation kind of earlier on next week. You're going to really be able to see how things might be shifting. Your internal influences, This is parts of yourself, because this is a court card with this Queen of Pentacles. This is parts of yourself that are going to be impacting the situation and having an effect on things. So you do have this nurturing, creative side. The Queen of Pentacles is like, has the ability to listen and respond practically. So the fact that you can listen and observe and analyze a situation, and you have the capacity to figure out the most practical way forward. You're going to want to keep that in mind while you're like figuring out what to do and how to handle things with that Two of Swords energy. You're able to find a solution when a problem arises, right? And maybe that's why you are struggling with this pause, because you know what to do almost immediately when something happens. And in this situation, you might not be able to fix it right away. The Queen of Pentacles also likes to take care of herself and likes to take care of other people. And if you feel kind of restricted by this like pause energy, I could see why that might be frustrating for you and might be in that challenge position. Let's take a look at the external influences. So these are things outside of yourself that are impacting the situation. So this could be another person, a situation outside of your control, just the general energy of your environment. And for you, the external influences are the Chariot. So things around you, it's similar to this energy of this Death card, kind of things around you are changing and moving, and it's definitely outside of your control because this is in the external. The Chariot is definitely a card of movement, a card of change. And I think it's going, like the situation happening around you is going to ask you, well, I guess going to force you, it's the same duality as the Two of Swords actually, of like, all right, what's going to drive us? Is it our emotions? Is it our logic? Is it our love? Is it our fear? So I think you might, you're going to be put into a situation where you might have a lot of power, but things are going to be kind of moving and changing around you, and you might not feel like you're in the driver's seat, but it's just not yet. It's just not yet. I want to make sure that you have everything figured out, and I think the fact that things are changing around you outside of your control is going to put that emphasis on like, all right, what are we going to do? How do we want to move forward? What's motivating us? Let's take a look at a hope or a fear. I tend to interpret whether it's a hope or a fear based on, the card that comes out. Sometimes it could be interpreted both ways. I tend to just present the viewer with the information, and it's kind of up to them to do with it what they will. So the Hierophant is all about faith, that search for spirituality, that search for receiving advice from other people or guidance from other people, or it could be about, like institutions like school or religion or things like that. So I think you're hoping that you have the wisdom and to make the proper decisions about how to move forward, but you also might be afraid that you don't have the wisdom. You might hope that you can rely on the guidance of a higher power, such as those spiritual or someone giving you advice, somebody older, somebody wiser. You might hope that you can rely on that advice, but you might also be afraid that somebody else might lead you astray. And I think probably because of both of those things, it's okay to ask other people for their opinion and their perspective and their advice, but ultimately what happens in your life is up to you and is your responsibility. So you're going to want to make sure that you actually do engage in this inner search to truly understand yourself and understand what you want, because you don't want to be led astray by the opinions and the perspectives of other people. You want to make sure that you're staying true to yourself. The Seven of Wands, what are your personal values? Are you going to have the courage to stick with them and follow them? All these things, we're making connections here. Okay, let's talk about the outcome, which can be like the energy, it could be the outcome of the situation, but it could also just be the energy of later in the week, or like the biggest energy of the week, something that you should keep in mind the most. And with the Knight of Pentacles, I think that this is like an energy that you might have to step into, which shouldn't be too difficult because you have this Queen of Pentacles energy about you. So this is not too far off, and it should be kind of easy for you to step into. The Knight of Pentacles, I think you're going to have to focus on the little things, the little details, like do the inner work, do the search, figure out what your values are, what's driving you, what do you want to do moving forward, and commit to it. The Knight of Pentacles commits, is dedicated, and is also willing to take little steps forward, because any movement forward is movement towards the goal, right? So you're going to want to really commit yourself, be dedicated, be attentive, right? Take those measured movements and understand that the hard work that you put in is going to pay off, okay? I wish you the best with this. And remember, your voice has power. So make sure that you understand what you want to say before you say it. I guess that's probably how this all connects. I wish you the best. Love, light, peace, happiness. If you have a clarifying question about this, love it, leave it in the comments. I can do a single card pull for you and leave it as a reply, so you'll have your answer. I want you to leave here feeling empowered and like you have all the information you need to face the next week. So thank you for joining me today. Remember to keep in mind the scope, right? This is just a week. I hope that you'll join me again for next week's weekly forecast. I really appreciate you being here. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. That stuff really helps me out. And I'll see you soon.